Hey everybody, this video is in the shop obviously and it's a disaster right now. I got a whole bunch of deliveries, which is awesome. I got a whole bunch of boxes with all the wood for the ceiling and the floor, or ceiling and the walls. I got a bunch of electrical stuff in. I got my wire so I can actually start wiring again. But the shop just feels like a disaster because I had to bring stuff in and move stuff over. I got piles of stuff over there. But that's kind of the nature of this build. So I wanted to give an update on the Galley cabinet. So I have basically roughed the entire thing in and it's looking really, really good. Obviously we've got the sink and faucet, the gas stove, and then the refrigerator. I'll give a tour around it when I'm done here. But this basically will sit on the passenger side of the van. The sink, up to about middle of the stove here will actually be exposed to the outside when you open the sliding door. This wall back here is actually the wall and support for part of the top bunk. It's actually taller than the top bunk by a few inches. And the reason for that is that the mattress will catch on and won't slide forward over driving and stopping, for example. The other thing is I had to raise up the entire thing a little bit higher than I expected because of the refrigerator. And essentially where this sits, this cabinet sits, it sits over the wheel well on the passenger side. So on the bottom part of this cabinet, I had to make two scribed cuts to basically go in up over the wheel well and around the wheel well on the floor. It took a little bit to figure it out, just like I had showed the video before about doing the wall, but it worked out. I just took my time and got it. So basically this cabinet right here, or this right here, will be open space for prep area if we need to be. And I should also say that on top of this, I'm gonna build a butcher block top. Not a very thick one, but I'm gonna build a butcher block top that will sit on the top of this and cover it all up. And then the stove and sink and faucet will sit on top of that. I still need to finish off a few of the edges and things like that, but it's all roughed in. I've got space to put in doors on below the sink and below the gas stove. Underneath the gas stove will be a propane locker to make sure that we're safe. And then underneath the sink will be our water. And we'll have two tanks, two 7-gallon tanks. One will be clean water and the other will be gray water where our sink will drain into. So we'll have about 7 gallons of clean water. We're also thinking about on this back here, but we'll see once we get it all in the van and everything is working, and we'll take a trip with it. But we're talking about putting maybe another small 2-gallon up on top, just 2 gallons of water, just for basically filling water bottles and that kind of stuff. But we'll see. I'm not sure yet. So that's kind of the overview, and I'll show you the refrigerator and then how I did the back too. Because what I did on the back, the piece that's exposed out to the world, if you will, when the sliding door is open, I wanted to put some boards on it, and I had a bunch of leftover boards from pallets. See, I get these pallets from my brother-in-law who they're 1/2-inch plywood, and they're actually really, really good plywood. So I cut them all apart, and basically I ripped them all down into 4-inch pieces. I chamfered the edges, and then I basically put them on the back to cover it up. So I'll give you a look at that in a second here. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now for the overall. So I'll give you a tour here of the fridge. So this is a Norcold refrigerator. It's 2.7 cubic feet, and it's not secured in yet. I just set it in just to make sure I got everything working. But it's basically got a small freezer in the back. It's got some shelves, and it fit in really nice. I need to put a 1/2-inch block in here so I can secure it in solidly. But it basically screws in from inside the refrigerator. So I'll actually screw it into the side walls of the cabinet. And then this metal flange will be around it, and it should look really nice. We're gonna paint all the cabinets on the bottom of blue. So with the black and everything, and I think it'll look really nice. So that's the fridge. So this is the cutout that I had to make for the wheel well. If you can imagine, the wheel well goes up and around and then down that way. So that's on the floor as it comes out, and this comes up this way. It actually worked out really well. I scribed the lines, and I've got maybe, I'd say a 1/2-inch, maybe a little less, maybe a 1/4-inch of clearance all the way around. So when it pushes up against the wall and locks in, I should be able to secure this directly into the framing that I intentionally put on the wall back here to make the entire cabinet solid and directly attached to the wall of the van. So there you go, a couple scribed cuts that worked out fairly well. This area down here, by the way, I'm not positive what we're gonna do with it. I need to check under the van, but I might actually put our heater in here. If not, it just becomes more storage. So anyways, that's that section. So this is the back of the cabinet, which will be exposed to the outside. The sliding door will come to about somewhere in here. And so this will be behind the wall, so it really won't be seen, but this portion will. And like I said, this is actually plywood from a pallet that I just ripped down and chamfered the edges and gave it a bit of a kind of a tongue and groove look, which will match the ceilings and the walls as well. The other thing we're considering doing is actually putting a table that folds down to the outside. So it'd be hinged down near the bottom, it would lock up to the top, and then we can unlock it, and it would fold down and have some legs so that when we sit outside the van, we have a small table that's concealed inside the van, which would be really, really nice. But I'm really super pleased with how some pallet wood turned into something that I think looks really, really nice. We will eventually paint this as well, so it'll match everything, but it should look really, really good when it's done. The wood does have some imperfections in it, which I totally left intentionally. I kind of like the idea that it shows a little bit of the history of where it came from. So there you go. That's the back of the cabinet and the overall look at what I've built so far.